And how did you get here? Stumbled upon me, Butch Maxwell, as I continue to waste your time for another hour this afternoon on Wednesday, March 16th. Yes, this is Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime today, and I'm here along with Lola Miller. How you doing, Lola?
I am doing well. How
Good.
are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay as long as I don't watch the news. we're fine. But we are going to talk a little bit about the news today. Notably Ukraine, of course. Also, Ukraine and switchblades, and I'm not talking about knives here. There's also a proposal for a permanent daylight savings time that won bipartisan support in the United States Senate. Amazing, amazing. So I think we should note that too. I also want to talk a little bit about what the new law in Florida that a lot of people are talking about, Don't Say Gay. It's being called Don't Say Gay. It's not really called Don't Say Gay. Well, what does it say and what does it not say? And I want to comment a little bit on Dolly Parton, too, and her decision to withdraw from consideration for the induction in the Rock Hall of Fame. Your calls are always welcome at the 304-214-1600. And also, coming up in this, I've got a call coming in now. I just want to tease this first before right after the break at 2:30. I've got the director and a cast member from Towngate Theaters. Upcoming play, premiering this Friday, The Book of Will. We'll talk about that. We'll talk to those folks about that production. Following the news at 2:30. So as I said, your calls are welcome, and I got a call right now.
It's Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Butch.
Hey, haven't heard.
I've been really desperate to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I gotta get some of this stuff off my chest.
All right.
You're the man.
Okay.
I listened to this one radio show. It's called The Many Moods of Ben Vaughn. Have you ever heard of him?
I have. Yeah, I've heard of Ben Vaughn, although I haven't watched or listened to the show.
He does a weekly show. He did the on Third Rock from the Sun. He does stuff like that. He made a couple albums in the 80s. Anyhow, he does this one thing, and he it's like a riddle, and he plays the song. And he says, "Give up." That was Dolly Parton in 1966 doing a pop song, you know? And that's what.
Yeah, that's true. Dolly Parton has been making really good pop music, since the 60s, and right through the 80s and 90s, and even today. Did you hear, Tom, what she did? She was nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. For this coming year, and she said this. Even though I'm extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't feel I have earned that right. I really do not want votes to be split because of me, so I must respectfully bow out. Which is kind of amazing. I mean, if you think about it, the company that she's keeping, the other nominees this year are Duran Duran, Eminem, the Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Rage Against the Machine, Kate Bush, Pat Benatar, the New York Dolls, A Tribe Called Quest, Lionel Richie, Beck, Fela Kuti, MC5, Devo, Carly Simon, and Dionne Warwick. How many of those are rock and roll acts?
2/3 of them, and a lot of them really good. I mean, most people wouldn't even know who the New York Dolls are, or the Buster Poindexter did a stint on Saturday Night Live.
That's right.
Steve Miller almost didn't go a few years ago because they wanted to charge his wife $10,000 for a ticket to sit in the audience.
That's outrageous.
I would have nothing to do with them people. He sat there and says, "This almost didn't happen." You know what I mean? Don't you think that's rude?
I do.
Oh, here, we're going to nominate you. By the way, you got $20,000 for your family to show up.
Yeah, right. You should have at least a +1, for heaven's sake. That's just crazy. I mean, there have been a number of people like Johnny Cash, Hank Williams, Chet Atkins, Jimmy Rogers, Bill Monroe, Brenda Lee. None of those people would be really considered rock and roll artists, and yet they are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I don't know. I'm with you on this. I think Elvis, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Nirvana, all that makes sense. But
that one guy that did the Johnny Cash album, he was some big rock producer and stuff, and he sat there with him for weeks and did that.
Oh yeah,
one of their later albums. It was weird because I heard I'm gonna break this rusty cage and run, and I didn't know that Soundgarden did it. And I'm driving down the road one day listening to 88.1 in Bethany, and I was like, what the heck are they doing that Johnny Cash song for? And it was the other way around.
It was Soundgarden doing it. Yeah,
But
there's a lot
I
of
had never
crossover.
heard their version.
I haven't either, but that's interesting. And I've heard a lot of crossover versions of, rock acts doing country songs and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think there, I can see a case being made for, there ought to be some, perhaps purity in the genre of music. And I think that, for my money, I love Dolly Parton. I think she's great, but I think she's a pop singer or a country singer, not really, or a country artist, not really a rock and roll artist.
She's been around. She didn't die in a plane crash yet. So,
Nope,
I mean,
nope.
But hey, on a lighter note,
Yeah.
both your FM stations are sounding much better. But last week I picked up I've created a monster. Somebody taught me how to text with my smartphone, and I've been driving Howard crazy. And I says, it sounds like somebody's arc welding. It's kind of rude. Somebody's arc welding while you're trying to have a show. But
is it just in Howard's show, or is it on?
Well, oh no, it was on all of them. But see, here's the thing. Like, most of the commercials sounded good, but the mics were messed up, and especially on 88.1, you could hear both of the mics on stereo, but you couldn't hear them on mono at all. It was just real faint. And I think that they had it plugged into like a surround sound thing, and then they had the left and the right speakers, and the mono wasn't recognizing the right left speakers. Now I'm getting too technical, but the arc loading, I think, was everybody has. And on top of that, you have 10 DC adapters plugged into a thing, and if one of those things is turned around and they have a polarity issue, and it says right on there, the FCC gives you rights to have all this noise and stuff, but I think that was what's causing the problem. And then miraculously, Monday morning, I texted him on Friday, and Monday morning it was cleared up, and I hope that's all it was.
Yeah, maybe it was.
But you know how I knew that?
No.
You know how I knew that?
How did you know that, Tom?
Years ago, I used to listen to Howard Monroe's stations on 1370 before he joined your station or whatever.
Yeah, it was. I think it were different numbers, but yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'm a radio head. I listen to radio all the time. So in my house, it was going whenever, just pretty much that station. Okay. And I couldn't figure out. I thought there was an electrical problem. I thought the house was going to burn down. Like the outlets. If the little screw's loose on your outlet, in behind the wall, you could have a fire.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I thought it was something like that. So I'm running around checking all this stuff. And one day, I go up in my daughter's room. She had her cell phone charger plugged in. And no cell phone, just left it plugged in. And my kids had their Game Boy charger plugged in their room, the boys. And I unplugged them. There goes the problem. So I called my wife on the phone, my ex-wife. I love her. And she took offense to the fact, well, I'm sorry. What I mean? I was like, well, I'm sure that if your computer was rolling, and then you had some issue with the computer, you'd be calling somebody by now. You know what I mean? But it took me like 2 months to figure this out. The end. But I mean,
that's kind of amazing. But yeah, the radio frequency can be really annoying and sometimes really hard.
Especially those little DC adapters will drive you crazy.
But
you have to unplug them and turn them around.
No, yeah. I'll keep that in mind. That's a good tip to keep in mind.
Anyhow, but I'm glad you're sounding better, and I just needed to get that off my chest.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to clear your chest for you, Tom. We appreciate your call.
See you, buddy.
All right, bye-bye. Tom, he's one of our regular callers here. Haven't heard from him in a few weeks. Right before we started talking today, Lola and I were talking kind of off the air. I did not see Zelensky speak, but I got to see a little news recap. I was teaching a class in the morning, but Lola, you say this was just wonderful, heartwarming speech that he gave. Heartbreaking.
The video that they showed begins with aerial views of all their major cities. And I assume it was in the summer. They were beautiful. It was all green. The buildings were all white. I mean, it was just, every vista was beautiful.
Yeah.
From the Black Sea coast to Kiev to, all those. And then it delved into the bombing and the bodies and the overwhelming destruction of Ukraine as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, it just.
Those images alone could be enough.
Oh, it was. And they pulled no punches. I mean, this wasn't edited for TV.
Right.
They
Yeah,
Canada.
he made his case, and he's made his case impressively, not only for the United States today, but Canada and the UK earlier. And Lola pointed out that they had that each message was really customized to the nationality, at least to
Yeah.
this audience.
He really did speak directly. The whole speech was delivered in Ukrainian
Mhm.
with, a translator until after the video. Then he switched to English, of which, he's
Yeah,
fluent.
he's very good at English. Yes.
And he spoke directly to Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to paraphrase this and just hack it all to hell. So to give it to you in a nutshell is if if you want to be the power of the world, you need to basically be the power for peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's actually suggesting that because it's not going to happen, they're not going to let Ukraine into NATO. Everybody's made that perfectly clear.
Right.
So he's suggesting something called 24E or something like that, which would be all of Europe.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean being in or out of NATO.
Right.
Everybody.
Everybody in Europe.
And their sole goal would be then to protect everybody else.
Mhm.
Because as
Well, it
he
seems
said-
reasonable. There's, Estonia, Lithuania, there are lots of small countries right along that former Soviet
Yeah,
states.
that NATO said at the beginning when Ukraine asked to become involved with
Mm-hmm.
NATO, they didn't qualify. Now, I don't know what the hell
Yeah.
qualifications you have to have, like a credit check, I guess. I don't know. Did you go to the right schools? But this way, all those small little independent countries
Mhm.
that are democratic would all be covered, and then all of Europe would defend all of Europe.
Yeah.
Because Finland now has decided that they're going to apply
To join
NATO.
Union. Yeah.
Because if he gets away with Ukraine,
Mhm.
and I don't know that he even has an end game. At this point, I think he thought he was just going to roll right through and it
Yeah.
was going to be done and
Yeah.
over with.
It was a big miscalculation.
But Finland could very well be the next country they go for because they've got all of that coastline.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. This is just so.
It's very distressing, and President Biden is in a difficult position. I don't, a lot of people are not happy with him. I'm not sure I am particularly either. It's just really hard. If he declares a no-fly zone, which would basically mean that NATO forces would protect the airspace and would not allow hostile forces to fly over the country, that would be Putin would probably consider that an act of war, and that would escalate. Yeah. So, so that would mean that NATO against Russia. So I'm not sure it would amount to a world war, but a big war.
And it would be basically a world war.
Yeah.
All of Europe.
Yeah, if we get all of Europe, that qualified as a world war before. So, among the proposals that Biden announced after Zelensky spoke today, that he was upping the aid to a total of $1 billion to Ukraine, and that's not just money, but it's also military assistance. And there is a type of a killer drone that the U.S. has developed that they won't share with anybody because it's high-tech stuff. But it's called Switchblade, and these would be very effective at sort of getting guided missiles, being a detriment to both tanks and artillery that's positioned from miles away. So far, only the UK is allowed to buy these from the U.S., but there has been some talk about maybe allowing the Ukrainians to use some of these because that would at least help with this no-fly zone, or this area, give them some defenses from the aerial attacks that they're getting right now.
We've given them Patriots now.
Yeah.
And I don't understand Israel's position on this. They have what they call the Iron Dome. which literally takes out almost every missile that comes into the airspace.
Right.
But they won't part with them. And I think it has something to do with Iran, and I don't know. But
Well, they're still in a very hostile area, too,
yeah, that's true. And I agree with that. But here's the problem with those switchblades. First of all, they're really not in mass production.
Right,
So they're
yeah.
going to be a very limited supply, extremely expensive. And what is the training time period
Yeah.
for somebody in Ukraine, because it would have to be a Ukrainian
Right, right.
that is running this thing, to get them proficient enough to be of real service.
Yeah.
And I guess that was one of the questions about the MiGs too. Part of the problem with giving those Polish MiGs to them is integrating them into Ukrainians' radar system.
Oh, yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
got, it's not just a simple matter of X, Y, Z, and boom, you're done.
Right.
There's a lot of infrastructure
Yeah.
kind of work
Yeah.
inside the systems that would have to be, accommodated before they could actually.
Yeah, so there's
be
training
done
and
to
then,
use.
retrofitting the software or whatever. Yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense. So,
I'm scared that I'm starting to learn all this stuff, all this warfare
it is,
stuff.
it's amazing. It is, but you learn what you have to learn. We learned a lot about viruses in the past couple of years too, didn't we? Yeah, a lot of these switchblades are called, sometimes called kamikaze drones because they do, you fire them off kind of like a missile. But they're actually relatively inexpensive. There are two varieties, a 300 and a 600. The 300s, I don't know what the 600s cost, but the 300s are about $6,000 a pop.
Oh, I have seen them.
Yeah?
Now that you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're slingshot out.
Yeah, yeah,
Boom.
that's what they're called, switchblades. So, I imagine the U.S. is going to find some way of getting them to them, but who knows how long it'll take. As you said, it's going to take a long
Put 'em
time
in
to
a
deploy them.
box with directions and the one Allen wrench they need to put it together, and
Yeah,
then ship them out.
that's right. Put IKEA directions with them so they just follow the pictures.
But please put it in Ukrainian, not Swedish.
Right, yes. You might have heard about this Don't Say Gay bill, what it'll do, what it won't do. I saw Florida's governor on television last night trying to justify it a little bit. And he said it doesn't, there's no word, the word gay is not in the bill at all. No, it's
in
not.
their vocabulary anymore.
But it's like the idea is you don't talk about anything. You don't talk about gender. You don't talk about sexual preference, basically. What they're saying is they're using words like instruction or discussion, and they cannot allow instruction, but perhaps discussion. Or no, discussion is not allowed either. So so if a kid asks a question or something that might be relevant to something else in class that would talk about a transgender or a gay or lesbian issue or something. No, we can't talk about that. That's not allowed. Now the bill has not gone through yet, but it's being it'll most certainly pass. It's HB 1557, and the way the Republicans are pushing this is they're calling it. It's a way of vindicating parental authority. But to me, it's the state is telling you what you can say and what you can't say in a classroom. And so I think this is outrageous. It's just.
We're going back to the Scopes monkey trial.
It is. It's incredible. So I don't know. If you have anything to say about this, give me a minute. We'll stick around and talk to you before we go to the commercial break. Otherwise, I do want to mention that a couple things that are coming up this weekend. I did mention them last week, but it does bear repeating. The Winter Blues Fest is happening this weekend, and it's just in time because spring starts officially on Sunday, although it kind of feels like spring today. So if you'd like to enjoy some great professional blues music right here in Wheeling, check it out. It's going to all be happening at the McClure Hotel starting Friday night at 5 o'clock. It'll go to 2 a.m. With Billy Price playing the late night. But we've also got Joanna Connor, Allie Venable, Vanessa Collier, and Eric Gales all on Friday night. Saturday, a full lineup starting at 1 o'clock, goes until 2 a.m. with late night with Billy the Kid. And then Sunday, there's an acoustic brunch that starts at 11:30 and it runs until 2. So that is happening this weekend if you're interested in blues. And Bruce Wheeler's behind this, the same guy who does the Blues Fest every year here in Wheeling, so you know it's going to be a class act. It's going to be great. And I've got some very good friends going. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go or not, but I'd like to squeeze it in. One thing I do have tickets for already is the Wheeling Symphony Orchestra's concert this Friday night. So if you're interested in all of that, yeah, you can probably still get tickets to that. It's at the Capitol Theater. This is a Masterworks concert. I like the classical rather than the pops myself, but there will be a piece by an American composer named Jesse Montgomery. Something that's going to be very Wheeling-centric, and then pianist Natasha Parmeski, I think. No, I messed up her name. Anyway, Natasha is going to be playing Romanoff's second piano concerto, and I can say Romanoff, and also the second piano concerto it's the most famous one. It's the one that has that famous theme that Eric Carmen kind of exploited for the song "All by Myself." And what movie was that featured predominantly in? What old movie, Lola? She doesn't remember. Oh, she's actually on the phone right now. So unless we've got another call coming in, I want you to invite you to stick around for part 2 of this complete waste of airtime as we bring in the director and one of the actors in Towngate Theater's upcoming production of The Book of Will. It opens this Friday night, plays over this weekend and next weekend as well. And so I don't have a call. All right.
He was breaking up so badly.
Oh.
I thought he butt dialed.
Okay. Well, maybe it was. Well, Mr. Buttdale, if you want to call back, we'll go ahead and take your call a little bit later. But right now, we're going to go to the news, and when we come back, we'll be talking about Towngate Theater's production. You're listening to Butch Maxwell's Complete Waste of Airtime here on the Watchdog Network.
A surprising end of the season for the WVU women's basketball program. Hi, everybody.